Greetings, my fellow film lovers, stop and seekers. This is L3's newest podcast. My name is Craig, transmitting from the beautiful Swampy Mangas of South Florida, and today's date is Friday, October 5th, 2018. So let us begin. Thank you for tuning in, my friends. Just been busy the past week, I would say, in good faith, and I do apologize for not doing a show. But I have to make a living, not making excuses, but so many things are happening right now, but nothing really serious. So, hey, thanks for your patience. I do appreciate it. Alright, so I'm going to be doing a couple here, and it's just funny when you have folks out there still believing that Carnival bandwagon. When we have discussions with certain folks and I give them my intake on it, and it's just so hilarious. So I said, well, how come they didn't address this in the local level? They get real defensive. Well, you know what? It proves one thing. Your constitutional principles blow. And I'm the kind of guy, I'm not a big fan of his. I am convinced and agree where Charles Baldwin stand, he's nothing more than a deep state toady that supports the Patriot Act and torture and all that from Mises.org. However, due process still should be legit. It's legit. It's in the books. It's on its face. But these buffoons, I call them, don't want that. They believe in exceptionalism. Well, I say I defecate on your Abraham Lincoln attributes, because he exercised exceptionalism. Adolf Hitler, Joseph Stalin, Mao Tse-tung, Idi Amin Dada, Benito Mussolini, and a few other tyrants that are living today, and including the late, ungreat John McCain, exercised exceptionalism. No, I go by the rule of law, our constitutional republic. I don't give a damn about these major political parties. People assume I'm some Trump worshiper, which I'm not. Say you're with us or you're against us, right off of Vladimir Lenin's playbook. And Jorge W. Bush made that statement on his State of the Union address the week after the horrific events on September 11th, 2001. I support principle over party. No ends, ifs, or buts. All you folks that believe the Democrats are going to do a better job after the 2018 midterm election, if many of them get in, then you're just a bunch of damn fools. And vice versa to the Republicans, the GOP. All I gotta say is, start doing your homework before have a chat with me. I don't mean while watching the damn idiot box. Because right now, many of you folks out there on this Kavanaugh worshiping or hating bandwagon are completely distracted on what's really going on. So, and we'll talk about another topic about the Florida Gun Show promoter. Looks like he's going to be suing the city of Fort Lauderdale. Looks like they banned him. And if I'm correct, without having a public meeting. How astute. Haven't really read the whole article, but if that's the case, they're very cowardly indeed. I'm talking about the commissioners. My servants. I live in the city. I can say that. My servants of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Remember, folks, when government knows best, it turns to crap. Indeed. So, without further ado, I'll be having let's have a little discussion here. It is interesting. From geopolitics.co came out the 3rd, a couple days ago. As it says here, rival gangs engage in assassinations for full control of U.S. government. While Americans are glued to their seats as Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh are being subjected to sordid sex smear attacks, a slew of covert operations to assassinate key members of rival gangs vying for the full control of the U.S. government have occurred. Can we say Orion? A CNN insider report that the appointment of U.S. federal judge Brett Kavanaugh to the Supreme Court took a deadly turn this past Thursday when the home address and personal information of 3 top Republican senators whose votes are vital to Kavanaugh's appointment were dangerously released to public, endangering their lives should leftist murderers find them, and that loyal Trump forces quickly retaliated against by assassinating a CIA-linked Democratic fundraiser named Philip Trineri. Looks like a shyster indeed. The Bush-Clinton drug-running connection has been firmly linked to the CIA, whose basis of operations for illegally funneling guns and ammunition to Central America in exchange for drugs and distributed and sold by the CIA throughout America was Mena, Arkansas, and whose air cocaine flights were overwatched and managed by then Arkansas's Governor Bill Clinton. The same report said, "I'm a proud bend-over Bob to the New World Order. I will spread my butt cheeks to the Council of Foreign Relations because I can do so." A large number of CIA-linked intelligence and military operatives currently running for the U.S. Congress under the Democrat Party banner, one of whom was former CIA-linked Pinnacle Airline Vice President Nikki Tinker, but who lost her Democrat primary after former President Obama came out publicly against her, and after which she was consoled by her employer and chief financial backer Phil Trineri, has alarmed the rival Trump organization. Could we say cloak and dagger, internal cloak and dagger? Absolutely. In the early hours of Thursday evening, 27 September, this report details CIA-linked Democratic Party operative Phil Trineri was contacted by the office of the Trump Secretary of Transportation, Elaine Chao, the wife of powerful Republican Party U.S. Senate leader Mitch McConnell. Birds of a feather flock together to meet with one of her top staff members in downtown Memphis, but while traveling to this meeting, saw an individual exit the passenger side of a white truck and approach Phil Trineri from behind and assassinate him. And that wasn't out an ordinary meeting to take place, as the year prior to Secretary Chao had appointed him to her Federal Aviation Administration Management Advisory Council. A lot of links on here too you can read for yourselves. With Memphis police officially arresting McKinney Wright Jr., 22, Cornelius Richardson, 18, and Rasinia Wright, 16, for the assassination of Phil Trineri. This report notes with puzzlement as to why they have been charged with first-degree murder in perpetration of criminal attempted robbery and criminal attempted, especially aggravated robbery, while the witnesses all described this as an act of assassination without nothing being stolen or even attempted to be stolen. This puzzlement, however, was cleared up when the mothers of 3 men were Tangela Jackson, 49, Lakita Johnson, 45, both of whom loyal Trump forces swept up last year in their crackdown against the CIA's vast drug-running operation in Memphis, and whose sons, is surmised, were given a secret deal to assassinate Phil Trineri in return for leniency being shown to their mothers, all of whom will then be disappeared. The alleged assassination of Phil Trineri was due to Democratic Party operatives releasing of the home address and personal information of members of the U.S. Senate Judiciary Committee. Senator Lindsey Graham of South Carolina, Mike Lee, and Orrin Hatch, both of Utah, in the hopes that radical leftist revolutionaries would find and murder them before they could vote on Judge Kavanaugh's appointment to the U.S. Supreme Court, and whose suspected leaker is believed to be a radical leftist anti-Trump U.S. Congresswoman Maxine Waters. Yet the Aunt Esther of Congress. More derogatory, to be exact. Aunt Esther from Sanford and Son was unique. I always enjoyed her. Especially when Fred Sanford had to verbally bash each other, but with no condemnation. Senator Lindsey Graham, of course, is one of the closest allies to the late John ISIS godfather McCain, who himself was assassinated via brain-attacking bioweapon, the same report said. So that's where we got the whole brain cancer. And that has happened to other individuals as well. Something to think about. Looks like the problem is, how I see it, John McCain exposed himself too much. Trump is said to be a member of a rival syndicate who has had more business dealings with New York City mafia dons than politicians of either political party in America, and whose lifelong mentor, Roy Cohn, was not only the most feared political operative in the U.S., but was also an expert in how to use assassinations as means to instill fear in your enemies, just like the Clintons had done. Donald Trump feared political operative and mob enforcer Roy Cohn in the late 1970s. The above picture was released to show Cohn's early days as right-hand man to Senator Joseph McCarthy, to his growth into the quintessential New York City power broker and attorney for myriad clients, who included mobsters and the future U.S. president. In a sizzle reel view by Deadline, Cohen's abilities are called dark arts, and his work ranges from being prosecuting the Julius and Ethel Rosenberg espionage trial and later serving as the voice whispering in the ear of Senator McCarthy's televised communist witch hunts. Trump met Cohen in the 1970s when the real estate businessman and his father, Fred Trump, were being sued by the Justice Department for housing discrimination against African American tenants. Cohen advised to his young protege, tell them to go to hell and fight the thing in court. They sued the Justice Department for $100 million and ultimately settled without admitting wrongdoing. It's from Deadline.com. Who is Christine Blasey Ford? Claimed to be a Stanford University psychiatry professor. Stanford University psychiatry professor named Dr. Christine Blasey has become the latest centerpiece of the Central Intelligence plot to harm President Trump with her last-minute allegation just days prior to U.S. Senate confirmation that Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh had attempted to sexually assault her over 30 years ago when they were teenage school children. I'm trying to look at her. I'm trying to say, really? But I don't condone any form of violating anyone's space. Just to let you folks know. While being kept from the American people about Dr. Blasey is that she currently oversees the CIA undergraduate internship program, Stanford University, developed by the notorious CIA connection, Stanford University psychiatric professor Dr. Frederick T. Meggles, who himself in 1985 looked into his care, the homeless woman Louis Lang, who assassinated CIA paymaster Nick Deek, and then afterwards saw the CIA's black operation monies being controlled by Ralph G. Blasey Jr., who, not so mysteriously, just happened to be the father of Dr. Christine Blasey. Can you see this? Small world? It's a small world after all. With Trump being warned just prior to his assuming the presidency by the powerful Democratic Party U.S. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer that U.S. intelligence service has 6 ways from Sunday at getting back at you. The Pinocchio of the U.S. Senate. This past nearly 2 years has shown just how prescient this warning was, and whose latest strike against Trump is coming courtesy of a rogue CIA faction who have just trotted out for public display Dr. Christine Blasey, married name Christine Blasey Ford, who claims that as a young high school teenager, Brett Kavanaugh, also a high school teenager, tried to sexually assault her, but whose evidence for this being true shows Dr. Blasey unable to name the exact year it happened, her not remembering where the incident took place or how she got home, her not being able to remember key details of the incident, her not remembering how the gathering came together the night of the incident, and her not telling anyone else about at the time, but should be expected to be the case from an unproven, salacious allegation of this sort, as it comes from a woman supporting the Democratic Party and who also hates President Trump. You see what's going on here? It's like a personal vindication game, propaganda at its finest, lifting the eyes of the justices blindfold, and they want us to believe hearsay equals guilty. Okay, this is why I get a big kick out of this, my friends, when all these folks out here climaxing or masturbating of the vindication of anything that President Donald Trump does. The cult of personality, rivalry, you know what I'm saying? And it goes on here, as the deep state aligned, U.S. mainstream propaganda media began flooding the airwaves, newspaper, and the internet with Dr. Blasey claims against Judge Kavanaugh that have absolutely no proof of or evidence behind anyone who could ever investigate. This report continues. CVR intelligence analysts were immediately able to bring up her file in the archive of known and or suspected CIA operatives, and whose placement in the files was due to her extensive and advanced educational training. Stanford University, the CIA-funded mind control brainwashing techniques developed by Stanford University psychiatrist Professor Dr. Frederick Belges, whose primary mission for the CIA was to develop new technologies for interrogation and torture, and secondary applications going towards studying the possibilities of exploiting highly suggestible subjects and getting them to do things, murder, couriers they wouldn't otherwise do, and of which they would not have memory in the case they were caught. Like I said, they keep saying, Orion, mind control 101, my friends, right? And there's a thing here about MK Ultra. Is interesting. LSD until September 11, 1954. You can read that yourselves, folks. CIA research notes of Stanford University psychiatric professor Dr. Frederick T. Megels, Christine Blasey's father, Ralph G. Blasey Jr., a proven CIA operative who, from June 1962 to January 1974, was the vice president of the National Savings and Trust of Washington, D.C., a CIA black budget bank best known for being 100 paces from the White House, and whom in 1998 was taken over by SunTrust Bank, whose majority share owner is the CIA-linked investment fund BlackRock. Wow, SunTrust. Yeah, I remember Sun Bank in Florida. So, any SunTrust Bank in South Florida? CIA black budget bank. The importance of noting of the CIA backing connections of Ralph G. Blasey Jr., this report explains, is due to the outbreak of what is known as the CIA bank war, and whose start of, in 1982, a CIA seized of the publication news report declassified, part sanitized copy, approved, released from September 5th, 2012, CIA report. You can read it yourselves. There's a link for that. describes as is the Wall Street in the center of the international banking system, a system on the edge of a crisis so severe that the Central Intelligence Agency is preparing drastic measures. Something must be done, avert the breakdown of the free world's monetary system. The main operative involved in this war, and whom Ralph G. Blasi Jr. reported to this reported details, was Nicholas Deak, a longtime OSS and CIA operative, both during and after World War II, who ran the CIA's black budget operations under direct command of the feared CIA counterintelligence chief James Jesus Angleton. There's a little article here with Angleton and Nicholas Deak, a reunion from the New York Times. April 21st, 1977. Let's see what it has to read here. CIA counterintelligence chief James Jesus Angleton with Nicholas Deak, NYT, 1977, as to how the CIA prevented the total breakdown of the Western banking system in 1982. This report says was by their illegally laundering hundreds of millions of dollars of Colombian drug cartel cash into keep it afloat, an operation overseen by the CIA's James Bonds of Money, Nicholas Deak. But when the President Ronald Reagan administration found out what the CIA has done and started investigating it, saw Deak on November 19th, 1985, being assassinated in his New York City office by a homeless woman named Lois Lang. You see what's going on here? Who had mysteriously managed to travel thousands of miles across the United States from Seattle to conduct this killing, and what news reports at the time described as Lang saw him and turned the corner with purpose, aiming the pistol with both arms. When she had Deak in her sights, she froze, transfixed. It was as she finally found out what she was looking for, a witness later testified. Deak seized the pause to lunge and grabbed Lang's throat with both hands by pressing his body into hers. She fired once next to Deak's ear and missed wide before pushing him away, just enough to bring the gun into his body and land a shot above his heart. The bullet ricocheted off his collarbone and shredded his organs. Deak crumbled onto the floor. "Now have you got yours," said Lang. A witness later claimed she took out a camera and snapped photographs of her victim's expiring body. The bag lady then grabbed the banker by the legs and dragged him into his office and shut the door. And it's interesting here, suspect in Deak Paradise killing has been in a mental hospital, officials say. Man, can you see what's going on here? Another patsy. Another patsy. Interesting. Possibly even Sirhan, we can look at that. They even claimed that Nicholas Cruz may be a patsy as well. Allegedly speaking, right? And of course, there's a clip on here, NYT News clip on CIA assassination of Deak Pereira. Though the American people were correctly told that Nicholas Deak, assassin Lois Lang, had previously been under psychiatric care, this report continues. What was failed to be reported to them was that Lang had been under direct care of medical supervision of the CIA's own Stanford University psychiatric professor, Dr. Frederick T. Megals, just prior to traveling from Seattle to New York City to carry out this assassination. And who was the exact type of assassin Dr. Megals had been working to create in his CIA-funded mind control MK Ultra program, and whose Canadian victims are still being silenced after Prime Minister Justin Trudeau this past December imposed a gag order on them to keep them silent. See, how come Rolling Stone magazine hasn't talked about this? They had a nice little photo of him, how great of a man he is. See, another bend over Bob to the New World Order, right? But that does apply to Judge Kavanaugh's accuser, Dr. Christine Blasi, who remains able to teach her CIA undergraduate internship program at Stanford University the MK Ultra mind control techniques discovered by Dr. Megals. Like his daughter, Dr. Christine Blasi, this report concludes CIA black money operatives Ralph G. Blasi Jr. remains secure too, and who today is the Vice President of Business Development of Redcoats Inc., whose Admiral Security Services provides armed security for the deep state elites in Washington, D.C., that is overseen by Records Inc. and co-founder and vice chairman William F. Peel. Woo. Sorry about that. The third, whose data watch system, Peel 3, also controls, has U.S. government contracts extending till 23rd June 2023 under the category of 246.242, 246.42.1 to provide U.S. defense and intelligence agencies with facility management systems to include accessories and repair parts, computerized systems for surveillance, monitoring, controlling, signaling, and reporting multiple functions, all of which CVR intelligence analysts believe the American people have the right to know about. Their evaluating the claims against Judge Kavanaugh being leveled against him by Dr. Christine Beasley, but who know it will never happen. What these reports are suggesting is that America never really belonged to the people, but only serves as a sizable playground for rival business interest groups in pursuit of their own corrosive ambitions. These are the same core peoples who went to China to fatten up their portfolios, leaving countless of Americans underemployed and outright jobless and dependent on the state support system back home. So what they're saying is all the world's a stage. And mainstream news, mainstream garbage, and they're not going to talk about this. Why? Because they don't care. They're already bought and paid for. That's why I'm not too surprised what's going on here. This is why I tell everyone, don't manifest. Don't believe the hype. See right through these individuals. And the little pawns of the game, the little rooks and knights of the Senate Judiciary Committee are nothing more than tyrannical buffoons themselves, regardless partisan position or political party. Look at Dianne Feinstein, for God's sakes. What does her and Kavanaugh have in common? They support the Patriot Act. Actually, he did some writings for it. And she endorsed it. Okay, just an example. You still want me to trust the government? You think Trump's the only person? If we impeach him, we're free? It's nothing more than a wet dream. Pay attention. See right through these individuals. Never, ever trust them at all. End of story. So, it's one of those things, my friends. You gotta look at the bigger picture. And I'm gonna do one more here. Give you my intake as well. Came out today, late yesterday, like 6 o'clock, 5:50. Fort Lauderdale sued over gun show ban. Larry Baraszewski. Fort Lauderdale is kicking gun shows out of War Memorial Auditorium. Now the gun show operators are kicking back suing the city in federal court. Florida Gun Show Inc. says the city is violating the company's free speech rights and should not be treating it differently than any other legitimate commercial operations. Today's show attracts thousands of visitors to the city-owned auditorium in Holiday Park, where shows have been multiple times each year more than 30 years. The gun show challenged the city's decision not renew its contract following the February shooting at Parkland's Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School, where 34 people were shot and 17 of them killed. Despite the gun show's history of promoting successful and safe gun shows at the auditorium for many years, as a result of tragic school deaths of a number of Broward County students at the hands of a criminal, the political climate in Broward County in 2018 had become very hostile towards gun shows and gun rights in general, the suit said. Yeah, because remember, all these politicians in Broward County are not more than a bunch of collective witch-hunting wussies. I will continue on here. The city wants to give gun shows out because of safety concerns in the city park and a negative image of having the city building host gun shows. Mayor Dean Trantilla said the city offered to help gun show find another venue in the city. He said, to protect the parks. Well, with all due respect, Mayor Dean Trantilus, we've been living in a dangerous world since the beginning of time. I don't know what cave you came out of. We have reached out numerous times, and the owner continues to stonewall us on the ability to seek out other venues. Trantilus said, "We're not trying to ban the sale of guns in our city." Yeah, but you like to bust some people's chops, do you? While the suit said it wasn't a safety issue because the events had been run smoothly, safely, and without incident, Trantilus disagreed. They never had an incident in Parkland either. Why tempt the danger when we can avoid it, he said. What the hell this guy is thinking? That's the kind of people you want in office? Good grief. Pathetic. Khaled Akawi, hope I pronounced his name correctly, who owns the gun show, said he welcomed the city to help find another location. Commissioner Ben Sorensen contacted him with several ideas, he said, but the Broad Convention Center fell through because it was too close to the port. Oh, gun-free zones. Shoot. The BB&T Center in Sunrise couldn't guarantee dates because of the Florida Panthers hockey season and the Central Grand, and Davey was more interested in weddings and events where also would be provided food and drink services. So what? But it's fun because they do have an NRA. They have NRA functions now and then there, once in a while. Come on, good grief! Akawi doesn't know if he will have a January show in the area if the courts don't step in and allow him to use the War Memorial. He operates 40 shows a year, he said. In addition to the 7 in Fort Lauderdale, he has others in Orlando, Tampa, Lakeland, Palmetto, Fort Myers, Miami, and Daytona Beach. While Fort Lauderdale hasn't been his biggest show, its visitors have some of the highest incomes per capita. Akawi said he has the best law-abiding people coming through the show, he said. The mayor wants to ban guns because he doesn't like guns, Akawi said. Trantilus sought unsuccessfully for 5 years as a commissioner ever since the Sandy Hook shootings to stop the War Memorial gun shows. It wasn't until a new city commission was elected in March with Trantilus as mayor that there was a decision to stop renting War Memorial out for gun shows. The new commissioner said the city would not renew the gun show lease as it expires in November. The gun show has seven weekend events scheduled at the auditorium this year, but canceled a March show following the Parkland massacre and the request of then Mayor Jack Seiler. This last show will be held November 17th and 18th. Florida Gun Show says its agreement with the city includes reservation dates for the future gun shows through 2025, and those dates should be honored. It wants its shows treated as the same as boxing matches, mixed martial arts competitions, bodybuilding competitions, and other events held at the War Memorial. The suit also said city commissioners and staff are violating state law that prohibits local government from regulating the purchase, sale, transfer, and ownership of firearms and ammunition, which it said is doing by adopting and enforcing the anti-gun show policy as its publicly owned facility. The suit said the gun show retains the right to add individuals officials to the suit who could be subject to severe penalties under state law. Those penalties include a $5,000 fine, possible removal from office, and opening officials up for further potential lawsuits seeking additional monetary damages in excess of $100,000. City Attorney Elaine Boledo declined to comment on the suit. Trantilus said the gun show suit may be a moot issue since the city is looking to stop renting out buildings for events and wants to have a single year-round tenant. While he declined to comment on potential suitors, city officials in June were awaiting a proposal from the Florida Panthers hockey team under which the auditorium could be used as a training rink for the team and an ice rink for children. Trantilus said several proposals are being discussed. Until that happens, we may end up closing the facility because of the significant cost of the city's incurred to maintain the facility, Trantilus said. Yes, it is an old rundown area. I could say that, and maybe it's a memorable, but there's still no excuse. And it's so funny about this. How come I don't see the city of Fort Lauderdale going after the Broward County Sheriff Scott Israel for his toadies, okay? For his toadies, school resource officers didn't have the courage to go and take that person out. All right? I didn't see one shred of information from that establishment. Okay? Not one. If you folks do have something, send it to me. I will deeply appreciate it. But I didn't see one damn thing on the Broward Sheriff's Office criticizing Sheriff Israel. You're on that pathetic witch hunting bandwagon, which I despise people with scapegoating fetishes. And I wrote a letter to those clowns, including their city manager, which I'm not too impressed with. And it's funny because there's some things in here I'll tell you about. On the federal level of laws, Title 18 U.S. Code Section 9212D4 prohibits anyone with a firearm and or ammunition that has been adjudicated as a mental defective or has been committed to any mental institution. And there was I remember the Broward School Board say, oh, we're not so sure, it's harder us to fight. And the report from the Sun Sentinel had a copy of a judgment against Nicholas Cruz stating he was mentally defective. Okay? And of course, the NICS Improvement Act of 2007 for stronger background checks because of the shootings in Virginia Tech. How come it didn't apply in Florida for shooting suspect Nicholas Cruz? Here's some Florida statutes as well. Florida Statute 790.065, the law was signed around June 28, 2013, in which prohibits anyone owning a firearm who was declared mentally defective. Rick Scott signed it into law. And of course, we know about the firearm free zone, right? 790.0612, subsection 12A declares certain facilities to be a firearm free zone. School administration buildings, examine verse 10 of the statute. And we have a local options law in the state of Florida, which I boldly opposed. Broward County had one, an ordinance 18-96 declared a 5-day working period on all firearm purchases. What do these laws have in common? They failed pertaining to the Parkland tragedy. Furthermore, the police obligated on protecting an individual to my local fellow servants of Fort Lauderdale. Technically, no accordance with Florida Statute 768.28 entitled Sovereign Immunity Tort Liability and Wong versus City of Miami, 1970. So what I'm examining here, my friends, is nothing more than a collective witch hunt towards National Rifle Association and fellow gun owners, plus the Florida Gun Show. And it's synonymous to Adolf Hitler and his Third Reich accusing the Jews for their nation's collapsed economy, right-wing fanatics blaming the Muslims for the 9/11 attacks, FDR signing Executive Order 9066, which made American civilians enemy combatants who were mainly Japanese, German, and Italian descent by conscripting them to internment camps without due process. And we go one more. When the left fanatics blamed the American Civil Liberties Union on protecting Richard Spencer's free speech, going after them for it. The city of Fort Lauderdale are in that same category. And the rest of the clowns in Broward County's politicians, including not my sheriff, federal lies, Scott Israel. They've been in good faith for 30 years without any major disputes. So I always say, let them continue to use the venue. There's a great quote I like to say by Thomas Paine. He that would make his own liberty secure must guard even his enemy from oppression. For if he violates his duty, he establishes a precedent that will reach to himself. Okay? So to you ingrateful tyrants out there, the Palmolivists in Broward County and the city of Fort Lauderdale ought to be ashamed of yourselves. Because you're in a wet dream. Alright? You can't even prove to me the police are obligated to protect an individual because I already addressed this. To Mayor Trantillis and the rest of those individuals, rather elected or appointed, you need to take a look in the mirror. Because you're a bunch of witch-hunting cowards in what you're doing. However, you can redeem yourselves by settling without going through this federal court. Because I'm going to have to show up and ask you why you want to destroy a business. So, something to think about, my friends. And even the ones who live in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, the Venice of America. And that is it. I thank everyone for listening. Plus, feel free to download and share us throughout your social media networks. If you have any questions, comments, or if you said something that's interesting you may want to check out, whatever you do, please address your correspondence with decorum, and they will all be on my Spreaker page. And that's all. Once again, thank you for your time. Plus, always remember that the demoniac resistance is healthy for the soul and can liberate humanity. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Keep on spreading love. And may your guardian spirits be with you.